This one is all about how to test and troubleshoot. We're going to test it, otherwise you're going to regret it. You're going to need some crash test dummies. I'm going to talk about how to set the scene, how to put both hats on while you're testing, and then some top tips. And it all features this dude here, Horatio Ballows, who is my favorite crash test dummy. You may have met Horatio. Here he is. Testing in this context is not about split testing. I am not talking about optimization. I'm talking about testing to make sure it actually does what you think it's going to do or what you want it to do. It's like being the mystery shopper of your ActiveCampaign stuff. Let's talk first about why do we test stuff. The simple answer is you can test it or you are going to regret it if you don't test stuff. You do not want to be the one wearing the badge of shame. I didn't test my launch automation and it all went really badly wrong. This happens. Don't let that be you. There are some things that really commonly require testing. A big one is forms. Loads of times I see forms that haven't been tested and you go try to fill out the form and it won't accept your phone number or it won't accept a .co address, the redirect's broken, or it doesn't start the automation. So forms are a really big one. Goals always require testing. We had someone who had just missed one little thing, which is to tell the goal to wait. And it meant that when people came into the automation, instead of waiting for each thing to happen, they just skipped through the whole thing. It was like putting them on the fast track. When they got like 20 emails in their inbox, this sort of stuff is embarrassing. And another thing that really commonly fails is triggers on automations. Quite often when you set up an automation, at the top here, you've got the triggers. Triggers are really important to check as well. I see this lots of times. Someone's accidentally set up the triggers in a way that allows a contact to enter it double or triple, and that means they're going to get 3 of the same email all at the same time. That's also a bit embarrassing. So on the subject of embarrassing stuff, we all fail at doing stuff in ActiveCampaign. Probably every time I try and create something, there will be something in there that I miss or that's not quite what I thought it was going to do and that needs repairing. The trick to it is failing is absolutely fine, but I would rather fail and fix privately than publicly. And to avoid the public bit, you need your crash test dummies. Mine are all called Horatio. Okay, I have 5 of them. They're these little dudes, and they each need their own inbox so that you can really see things from their eyes. My top tip here is give them all the same first name so that you can find them easily. I find 5 is a good number to have. You might only need 1 or 2. That's fine. So for each crash tester, they're going to need their own individual Gmail inbox. It doesn't have to be Gmail, but Gmail's is free, it's easy, and it does a good job of masquerading as your average person who might sign up or into your world. Okay, so that's the one I recommend. Let's talk next then about how do we rig these guys up to do what we need them to do. These guys are like a little set of crash testers. Each of them has a different outfit on, because what happens with testing is we need to test what happens if they have this tag when they come in, but also what happens if they have this tag when they enter. What happens if they come in wearing this hat and they end up picking up a panda halfway through? You might need to run various different scenarios with your crash test dummies. This is why we have 5 of them, because not all of our people behave the same, right? They don't all do the same things. And you can guarantee that somebody in that gang is going to have a panda clutched in their hand and do something weird and wonderful. So your job as the tester is to try and dress up as some typical contacts and also try and think, well, what could they do that I'm not expecting? What tags should the contact have? What field values should they have? Where are they coming in from? So if you're testing a form submit, get an incognito window open and actually submit the form using their email address. You really need to mirror as closely as you can what it's actually going to be like when a real person does it. One of the key things with these guys is you can reuse them. What I do with a test contact is I delete them from ActiveCampaign and maybe from WordPress or wherever else they've ended up as well. Delete that contact completely so that you can start again with a clean sheet. This is helpful, especially if you're testing new leads coming in, your opt-in routes. It's not a fair test if that contact already exists in the system. So sometimes you're going to need to delete them. But yeah, rinse and repeat. You can use these guys lots and lots of times. Let's go on then to what happens when you're actually running the test. You've dressed up your dude, you're going to plug them in and see what happens. And this is the fun part. You need to be patient. You also need to be ready to wear both hats, because you have to be looking at it from the ActiveCampaign end as well. It's no good just looking at it to see what's happening in Horatio's inbox. You need to be looking what's happening in ActiveCampaign as well, looking at the contact screen to check that what you think is going to happen is what actually happens. One of the best features for doing this is that whenever you're looking at contact in the back end of ActiveCampaign, for any automation that they're in the middle of, you can click onto that automation and it will show you the exact path that the contact has taken. So you would see exactly where Horatio has got to in the automation. And if you need to skip something, you can skip a wait and move them on. This is a really helpful way of looking at things, and it'll tell you exactly what time all this stuff happens as well. While that's going on, you should also have, if there are emails involved, you should also have Horatio's eyes on another device or in an incognito window. You're being Horatio, and then over here, you're looking at the ActiveCampaign backend. But you'll know it's right when both of those experiences look right, feel right, and do all the things that you were expecting. It's really important to be patient when you're running tests. Things take time for the wheels to turn. Make sure that you leave yourself enough time to run some coherent tests. Otherwise, you're going to run into trouble trying to scramble through things, and your tests then aren't as effective. Which brings me on to some top tips. Things that you can do to make all of this easier. If you have got 5 crash test dummies, their email addresses and their names, saving their emails on whatever autocorrect or text expander you have is really helpful. Another top tip is if you're testing anything that involves dates, you may well have to fiddle the dates to get your testing scenario to run within a reasonable time frame. So say you're testing something for a webinar that's happening a month down the line, tweak your automation so that it's pretending the webinar is tomorrow or the next day, just to help you actually check your wait conditions and dates. Testing with dates is the fiddliest stuff to do. And the more we automate, the more mistakes we make as part of creating these wonderful, detailed, complex, amazing automations. Happily, once they're up and running, we don't have to do it so often. All right. It's still a good idea to test your processes now and again. Sometimes integrations break, sometimes things change. For the most part, you're going to do one set of really thorough testing until all the little glitches that you find, your spelling mistakes, typos, a goal that wasn't set right. Once you've got all of that ironed out, your process is going to run smoothly then, and you can rest easy because you know now that that process is running and you've checked it from both ends. This also has applications for troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is where something has gone wrong with a live process and you need to figure out what it is, repair the damage, and fix it so that it doesn't happen again. One of the best things about learning how to run test contacts through is that it gets you looking with problem spotting eyes. When something goes wrong with a real contact, it's much easier for you then to go back and sort of read the contact screen. You can see, oh, look, they're in this automation. They've had this email. Okay, it could be this link is broken, or it could be that this tag didn't get applied. So it really builds your muscles for figuring out what went wrong here, or what did this contact do. It'll help you be able to spot easier, this contact has done something unusual, and that is what has broken the process. If you are troubleshooting something, one of the good strategies is first to go and look and see if you can spot what's gone wrong. If you can't, try and rig up one of your test contacts to go and be that person. So if they were carrying a panda, wearing a hat and a wand, rig up a test contact so that they do exactly what that contact did, and then you can watch each step as it goes along, and watching it unfold in real time will help you pinpoint what went wrong. Dress up one of your crash test dummies to look like the contact who came off the rails a bit. The great thing about now that you know how to test stuff is that you can be braver in your ActiveCampaign world and go try something a bit more adventurous, because now you know how to run a crash test dummy through it and make sure it actually works. Happy days.